Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Mr. Huff, and it is time to brainstorm some possible solutions. But I have some specific things I want you to do. So let's take a look at some strategies before we begin. Remember, you want to focus on quantity when you're brainstorming. You want to withhold criticism. If anybody says that's a terrible idea, then kick them out, vote them off the island. No, you should be not criticizing each other, but just encouraging more and more quantity. Welcome the unusual ideas. Usually, this is where the best ideas come from, are from really weird thoughts. And then also, we want to combine and improve ideas. So sometimes someone may have a solution that sort of works, and you can kind of combine it with another idea that makes it even better. And then improve on that so it kind of builds up. That's what we want. So things that derail brainstorming, that is free writing. That's where someone is just there, but they're not really contributing anything. Don't let that happen. Call for them. Call for them by name. So I really liked how someone answered the question about what would you do if you have a team member that's not pulling their weight, and they replied that they would just continuously ask for their input just to until they were annoyed so much that they would just finally start participating. Evaluation apprehension, you want to make sure it's a safe place for people to share ideas. This happens whenever you have a kind of a negative environment where people don't want to share an idea because they think it's going to be kind of shredded. It's like that's why you don't post stuff on social media, because there's always someone that's going to jump all over that and have terrible things to say. Blocking is when people get cut off, so make sure everybody has time to speak. Just having fun. Some people get caught up on the let's be as crazy as we can be, and then they get so far from the topic that they're not really being productive. And the illusion of group productivity. A lot of times we feel like we're actually making headway, but really we're not making a lot of headway. You should be pushing toward solutions, not just lots of crazy ideas. There's one also, it's the social matching effect. It's not on here, and it's really a big chunk of this. And the social matching effect happens when you have a group and one person isn't doing anything, or they're doing like the minimum. And what that does is it gives the whole group permission to do exactly the same thing. If you have someone that is doing the minimum possible, it's going to drag the work ethic of the entire group down to that person. So let's also be aware of that. So whenever we talk about freeform brainstorming, Post-it notes are your friend. You can use sticky notes. Digitally, you could use tools like Padlet, which is free, and you can throw Post-it notes on there. Jamboard is really good at this in a digital version. You could do free writing, and there's some examples here of free writing where you're just writing down you're just kind of building a map of things as you go and just blurting out. However, if you're using the strategy blurting out where you just have people calling out their ideas, you need to have someone or two people capturing those ideas on paper. It doesn't count if it's not written down. You have to write stuff down. You just can't come up with a bunch of great ideas and then not write them down. It's like the patron saint of engineering, Adam Savage, says, the only difference between screwing around and science is writing it down. Another technique is called forced association. This is where you take two seemingly unrelated ideas and put them together to make something new. For instance, the idea of a printing press from Johann Gutenberg. He saw a wine press and he saw how they stamped coins, and he was like, "Why? What if we used a wine press to stamp letters on paper?" And it came up with a really great idea. So the technique is called Scamper. You can look at, you can search for this term, Scamper, misspelled this way. There's actually another R in there, but you can look for this term in the PLTW curriculum, and it will take you to some resources. There should be some stuff in the general student resources about this, but using these strategies here, you can turn a few ideas into a bunch of ideas. So you can take an idea and substitute something. You can take an idea and combine it with something else. You can take an idea and adapt it to do something else. You can take an idea and magnify it or add to it. You can take an idea and modify it. You can take an idea and put it to some other use. You can take an idea and eliminate something. Take an idea and rearrange it. Take an idea and reverse it. So those are some strategies. I'll be providing a link for you to go read through before you start this activity. And we're going to produce another mind map. So whenever we mind map, this gives you a lot of information about how to do this. I'll have this presentation provided as a PDF. But really what you want to do is you want to have your problem in the middle. And you want to have big ideas coming off of that and get to more and more specific ideas. And in this case, here's an example of a brainstorming session. So when you're going through this brainstorming process, I want you to start with your problem statement in the middle, and I want you to identify the Scammperr method that you're using, substituting, combining, eliminating, that sort of thing, and then have your solutions after that. So I want you to use multiple strategies. I'll spell out how many I want in the assignments. Again, I want to stress that it is important that you capture your ideas and keep them in your engineering folder. This is basically you're building a portfolio through the year in this folder. So you may need to come back to these later because as you've seen, some people have had to go through a problem and then figure out this problem is not what we need and had to restart. And that's going to happen with solutions as well. You might get into the design phase and discover this really isn't going to solve the problem. And we know that before we are even starting to build or anything. So you may have to come back to this and visit other solutions. That's why you want to have a lot to choose from. So make sure you have someone to take notes, take pictures, and compile the ideas after the sessions. So that's what the assignment this week is going to be about. Some things that will cause problems. If you don't have a good project proposal, this is your problem statement and that all the supporting material. If you haven't done a good job there, it's going to be hard to come up with good solutions. Assuming there's only one right answer is a mistake, and I submit to you that your first idea is the worst idea. It's not going to be what you need. So don't get hooked on your first solution. I have toyed with the thought of having you say, what do you have in your mind right now? And go ahead and have you fully document it and then say, okay, now you can't use that one. So usually the problem is, especially if it almost works, but if it's not a complete solution, it's not a solution. So push yourself to go beyond the first idea you have in your head and solve the problem. And then another dysfunction that happens, and for you guys, it's if you're working with just your partner, then this is not a problem, but I may ask you guys to brainstorm with each other in larger groups so that you get more ideas, more than just from the two of you. But just accepting ideas for one or two people, that's usually a mistake. You need to put all the brain power you have into this. Another dysfunction is feeling anxious to finish. You feel like you've got a deadline and you have to meet it. Another thing that can happen is you can brainstorm for a while and then you get frustrated because you're not coming up with solutions that seem viable. Usually that's a good time to take a break. So what I would suggest is if you do this for a day and you haven't got down to anything that's like a really solid contender for a solution, take a break. Don't even think about it until the next day. Go do other things and put it out of your mind and then come back and look at it with fresh eyes. It's remarkable how often this helps. And again, don't get hooked on something that's almost a solution. You want to go further than that. And if you get stuck, it's really just following that Scammperr list. Try combining things. Try different brainstorming techniques. Try to split up and go do individual brainstorming and then come back and do brainstorming as a group. And do some more research. Go look at some other similar solutions and designs to see how people have looked at the same problem or similar problems or unrelated problems that could be applicable to what you're trying to do. And that's all I have to say about this. Thank you for listening. Have an exceptional day.